and with cups in their hands. So I thought maybe they wanted to know if you wanted cups, a drink or something. I don't know. What was the question you asked?
I know we talked about it before, but where you served?
Mainly in Europe.
Okay. And were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
And where were you living at the time?
At the time, I was living in the Bronx, New York.
What?
He's coming in.
And why did you join?
Pardon?
Why did you join the service?
Why did I join the service? Of course, it was my job, but World War II was on. It was my job. I was going to be drafted anyway. So I was almost 20 years old at the time. So I joined the Air Force. And then I went to the special Air Force, special area, because there was an experimental part of the Air Force to support the ground troops in the war, during the war. And I've got letters from General Patton thanking us for supporting them across Europe, and a letter from the embassy, Belgium embassy, that thanking us for saving the country from destruction with the Battle of the Bulge, and etc. That's the major things. And we were in every major combat area that was during the war, from D-Day to Europe, all across Europe, into Germany. And Germany is when the war was over, just about over. And I came home November 45. That was the end of the war already, because the war ended in April of 45. That's all the real interest I could mention. I mean, we had a lot of luck, because with all the destruction and everything that went on, we came out of the only thing we lost was a lot of pilots and a lot of planes. We lost a lot of them, and some of these things that we were in. But you just take it as part of the war. And we were very lucky that we didn't lose very many men in my end of it, which was about the middle of the combat zone, because just lucky that we came out of it in pretty good shape. That's about all. I'm proud of my outfit, because we became one of the first, well, not even that, the first outfit that made cuts to 5 presidential unit citations, plus other citations and so forth. And that's about all I could say. That's of interest.
When you chose the Air Force,
yeah,
why did you choose it?
I don't know. I wanted to be a pilot. My mother promised me that I shouldn't become I can't become a pilot. I shouldn't become a pilot because she knows what the pilots we lost pilots during that training period. We lost a lot they weren't shot down. This was in Florida on the P-39, which was a terrible training plane. And when something happened in the plane, it went right straight down, not at an angle, but straight. And we lost a lot of pilots during training, and but everything turned out just the way I say it turned out. For me, anyway. For me, I was a little perturbed, because I ran the engineering department as one man. I'm supposed to have had 3 men, and I had I don't know if this is good to say, an anti-Semitic lieutenant ran as the head of the engineering department, and he was an anti-Semite, and held back my rank or gave my rank to other people. So I was a corporal when at the time I should have been a tech sergeant, but I never reached a tech sergeant state. But I reached the state of staff sergeant, which is not too bad. And that's about it. But I complained to Washington about the anti-Semitic thing. They took him out of my outfit and transferred him out of the Air Force altogether. So that was by me being what I am. I'm glad he was taken out because of his feelings, his anti-Semitic feelings. And I don't know if that'll be cut out of the thing. It won't be.
No, it's worth saying. Do you recall your first days in service?
First days?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can recall pretty much the first days. I mean, we came to Camp Dix, Fort Dix, and we were there only a few days. I went to Florida, Miami Beach for basic training, and it was awfully hot there. We went in January, I think. It was about January, and the weather was abominable. People some of the men were fainting, and they were being pulled under the shade all the time. But I couldn't see anything. I was such good physical shape. I didn't mind anything. Nothing bothered me really. Not as a show. I'm not saying this to show off. I'm saying that it's good to be in good shape.
Can you tell me more about what you did in boot camp?
For what?
In boot camp or basic training?
Basic training? Nothing. You did your exercises. You were up early in the morning. You did your calisthenics. You did your hikes. With packs, 20-mile hike or something like that, and it was rough only because it was the heat of Florida that made it so rough. But to me, it was very easy to me. When these guys keeled over, that were fainting from the heat and all that, I couldn't see it maybe because of my physical shape at the time. So that's about it. That's for basic training. And that's about the station. Then I went to engineering school in Stillwater, Oklahoma, Stillwater A&M College. And I had my engineering training there. We were there for a few months. Because in a few months we did 3 years of training. That's how we got up at 4:30 in the morning. We didn't get to bed until about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon or evening. So that was pretty rough, that part of it. But we came back from Oklahoma, formed an outfit in Florida and trained pilots. And that's where all these pilots were, not all, but a good portion of pilots went down in their own planes that they were training in. The P-39s were a terrible plane, and they should never have used those planes for training, knowing how bad they were. And that's about it. And from there we came up north and took a ship to England, Liverpool, England. And that part was the end of my seeing the States.
And before we leave the States entirely, do you remember any of your instructors from any of your training that stand out in your mind?
The training where?
Any of your instructors? Any of your...
Vaguely, very vaguely. We had one instructor that was a horrible instructor, but I just took it as a part of something that's had to happen. That's all. And when we lived, we had the ship. We went on the North Atlantic, and it took us 11 days to get to Liverpool, where it's normally about 4.5, 5 days. And and when we got to Liverpool, it was a pleasure because we went through storms in the North Atlantic, and it was at the time during a lot of submarine killing the plane, killing the personnel, sinking ships. But we had a destroyer and what's the next biggest ship? We had a destroyer and another big ship just guarding our ships that were there. So thank God we weren't hit by any of them. And that was the worst part of the storms. The North Atlantic storms were the worst part of the trip across, and we were very short. The trip was, like I told you, took 11 days to get to Liverpool, and then we were free to do whatever we wanted in Europe. But we didn't stay in Liverpool long, and we went down to. From Liverpool, we went down, let's see if I can remember where we went, to the southern part, almost to England, the coast, the Dover coast, and we were there for a few months, and then we went to, there was, after we went into, it was in D-Day. I was up at 4 in the morning getting our outfit ready to go to Europe for D-Day, and that was a little rough also, but not for us, it was for the pilots. We lost a lot of pilots and planes at the time, and that was that part of it. When we got in for D-Day. And let's see if I can remember the thing more clearly. That was a long time ago. And from there, we went all the way across Europe, supporting Patton with his divisions, and in other divisions, the fighting men, the actual fighting men. And we supported them as they needed support, and we have pictures that the planes took of our dive bombers. It was a P-47 dive bomber, and the Germans hated that plane because no matter how much they shot it up, it came back to the base altogether. And with each place that we went, we had an engineering outfit building building runways for us to be able to get our planes off. We were in a place that had no ship, no airplane, runways. So we had to build our own, was the engineering outfit that built the runways. Like overnight we had a runway. And that was it. That was the worst part. Actually, like I said, we got away lucky. It was just lucky that we lost very, very few men on our part of it. But except for excluding the pilots, which you had, or at least 1.5 turnovers in pilots. But we had the commanding officer, the captain, which we were together from the States all the way through almost the end of the war. Then he was transferred to headquarters. He did a tremendous job with the pilots and teaching them what to do, what not to do. In fact, he lived in in Long Island, and I tried to contact him. I couldn't contact him for why. I don't know the reason why, but he just died about a year or two ago, so I never saw him. And another man that I knew very well, we were very friendly, that I tried to contact, couldn't contact him either. He was our first sergeant. He was another nice guy, Master Sergeant. He was a great guy and helped in the training of us right throughout the war practically. In fact, when we formed, our outfit was formed in the States, and until the end of the war, we had pretty good men, some very good men. That not like some outfits had bad guys, not effective. We had one that they tried me to teach part of the engineering, and he refused to be taught. So he took him out of my department, and I was still the only man running the department. After that, we just couldn't find a man willing to work. So I ran the 3-man department by myself, and I thought I should have been given higher rank than I did do. We had a new officer in charge of the engineering department, and he said, he came from Pennsylvania, the nicest guy in the world. He said, "Sam, I know you've been screwed with your rank." He says, "Well, I'm going to try my best to see what I could do." So within a few months, I became a staff sergeant, which was still under my rank that I should have had. But still, I don't want to be a crybaby, so I don't bother much. All I did was my job, and I did a pretty good job of it. And that's about it for that part of the war until we came back as a group. The same outfit, 512, Fighter Squadron, and we came back to Boston, and from Boston we came back to New York, and other men were just separated and went to other parts of the country, depending on where they lived. And that was the end. We had an annual thing with my outfit, an annual thing, but we lost so many men after a while that there wasn't enough men to continue with the writing of the newspaper. They gave you a list of every man that passed away within the period of that month, and so forth. So we lost a lot of men. They passed away, a lot of men. And I don't know how many are left now. I guess I'm one of the lucky ones.
Can you describe exactly what your duties were in the engineering department?
Well, it was mostly paperwork. I was able to order parts and planes as they were shot down and destroyed. It was my job to order them as quickly as possible, and that's about it. My job, I feel, was a very easy job. I worked hard, but it was for me it was easy. That was the most technical things. That was a lot of paperwork to order all these things. And in fact, I got a lot of commendation from Washington thanking me for the job I did and for recommendations I made that they thought was very valuable. I lost that letter. I can't ever find it. So I have no proof of that anymore. The only proof I have is the letters that we got from other things, for other reasons. And that's about all I could say about that, unless you ask me questions I could answer you.
Mm-hmm. I know you said earlier that you weren't directly in combat, but that you...
Where we were stationed, or how we were stationed, we were always stationed within a combat area. So we weren't in where the fighting was done. We were just before it or after it, but we were within a mile of each other or even less. So that's what I mean by we weren't directly in the combat zone, but they called it a combat zone. Of course, we got the extra pay from Uncle Sam being in a combat area, because they knew what it was all about.
Did it affect you? Could you hear things going on, or did you get news of things?
No, nothing. We were part of the news, in fact, because we were making 5, 6, 7 flights a day to different areas, and destroying what had to be destroyed. So I didn't find. The truth is, I really didn't find it tough with being in what they called the combat area. Was I mean, they were fighting in front of us and behind us, but when the Germans shot the V-2 rockets over us to go to London, and they were shot. I tell you, most of them were shot down over us along the coast of England, and as all we did was build a trench for ourselves, or there were plenty of trees knocked down. So when we heard when we used to hear the rockets come, we used to jump under a log or something like that, and they'd blow up pretty near us. And none of us were killed, luckily. So that's about all I could think of right now. Probably I can get into more details, but really, I've told you just about everything about my end of it.
Were you stressed with that going on around you?
Was I what?
Were you stressed with that going on around you? How did you deal with the...
No. I grew with the war. It was a war. There's no question about that part of it. But I was very lucky on everything that happened, and that we pulled through. And I think the only thing I told you the worst of it was all the pilots that we lost during the war. Like the Battle of the Bulge we were in Liège, Belgium, and the Germans were killing our men. We lost a lot of men at the Battle of the Bulge. So by the time we were stationed in northern France, which is right near Belgium, and we were always in an area that we could support our troops. Always. That's the only thing we say about it. And it was, like I told you, it was it was it was an experimental areas always, where we could get to the troops within minutes and support them. That was the best way I could describe that, how we acted or reacted. But there was nothing that we were in that should have frightened us, except for the V-2 rockets being shot over us. But I found, when you're always brave when you're 20 years old, 21 years old, you don't feel you don't feel frightened about much of anything. You're a little more brave, or we're stupid. We don't realize that was what it was. And that's about it so far.
Can you tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences in this service?
It was all experiences, the whole thing. We were on the move constantly. I used to pack up my little desk that I had and move on to the next town, especially going through Europe. It's nothing memorable really. Except that we were on a lot of the moves. You move constantly. We went through Europe in a period of about close to a year, and that's it. It was nothing to be. I'm sorry to say, it wasn't really so memorable outside of pitiful when you went into a town, you saw little children coming to our truck, our troop truck, asking us, please take us with you. And they were dragged. The little girl was in the back of the truck, back of us. I was sitting in the back of the truck. They were pleading, please, in very broken English, to take us with them, take us with them. That was memorable. That was a little heartbreaking. And we gave them our chocolates and our candy that we got in the PX that were given to us. And that's why I never ate much of the candy. We gave them to the children in all these towns that we moved. And they loved us for that. And for the grown-ups, we went in through a farm, and I remember I didn't have an egg, a real egg, in a long time. So I gave him a pack of cigarettes, and he gave me a half a dozen eggs, and I ate a half a dozen eggs at one shot. But they tasted good. Because our food was nothing to be proud of. Of course, the first foods that we got were canned foods. The K ration and the C ration was over. Horrible, horrible food. And then we got better foods. They gave us powdered foods, and you had to like the powdered foods, or not, you starve. That's it. But they try to improve the outfits of the food of the outfits, but they didn't. They never got around to doing it throughout the war that I saw. Except the outfits, I got regular food, and they had good cooks, and our cooks had to learn how to prepare foods from these other foods that were given to us. It's like the powdered foods. Were one of the last foods that we got. The powdered eggs, powdered potatoes, powdered everything. And I don't know where they got their meat from, but I think it was from a dead cow or a dead horse they got it from. But it was meat, so it was good enough. I never complained about that. There was nothing to complain about. You were in a war, period. You got to expect things like that. And if you don't, you're worse for it.
How did you stay in touch with family?
How
did you stay in touch with family?
It was difficult. In fact, they couldn't get letters from you, although it was the what do you call it, letters, the little miniature letters that you sent, because every letter you wrote was looked at by some person, and they would cross out where. In fact, I got a bunch of picture postcards I got in France and so forth, and everything that I wrote was crossed off because they don't want to know you to tell your people where you are at the time, was that giving information to the Germans. And it was tough. They wrote to me, so missing me and so forth and so on. But I couldn't write much of that. I was able to write much of them, but everything was investigated, was shown on there. So that was it. There's nothing I would have told them anyway. That was very bad. It would bother my family.
You said before that the food varied greatly.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. I'm a great eater. I love to eat, and the food that was given to us were inedible practically, especially canned food. The best part of the canned food was a cheese can. But you had to like cheese, and I don't eat cheese. So I used to trade my cheese for the other foods that they had in the cans. But it was horrible, the food. I hope they improved the foods by this time of their history. But it was horrible during the war. I don't know. I should speak to one of the American GIs today and ask them how their foods are. And I can guarantee you they're a lot better than what we had.
How about supplies? Did you have enough supplies? Were there times when you didn't have enough?
Have what?
Supplies for
Supplies?
Or
No, I didn't have a supply because the German Air Force was in such bad shape. They had to cut down their flying and their much, and they would see a little outfit and to try to throw some bombers or something like that. Because their Air Force was almost zero, and so thank God it was, because they couldn't get gasoline for their planes there for a while. So their Air Force went down to almost zero at the time, and their bombings were really probably for factory buildings like that. They were trying to blow up, which with not too much success.
was there anything special that you did for good luck?
Anything special for what?
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, I came home alive. That was the only thing special. I mean, what we went through is quite a bit, but not as much as what the infantry went through. And we had our bad luck things, such as when we at D-Day, when you got into Europe, the Germans put bombs in all the hedgerows, the hedges, and we were told about it, and they said to any of us, do not go through the hedgerows, because the chance are you to be blown up. And we heard stories about some of these GIs actually going through them stupidly and getting killed. But thank God, the few that went in my outfit didn't get killed. They didn't go through. They just listened to the notices that we got about keeping out of the hedgerows. And nothing. Everything else was a war.
How did people entertain themselves in downtime?
No entertaining. No entertaining. Unless we were in a big enough town where maybe they gave us a few hours off and so forth, but there was no entertaining. Nothing at all. The only entertaining was a little in England. We were given a weekend in London, but the weekend didn't end up so good because London was being bombed at the time, and we had to be careful where we were at the time. I missed them. We had some close with Jay. I had a date with a girl, and I had to meet her at a pub, and I came to the pub, and she wasn't there yet, so I waited a little bit. I said, no, she probably changed her mind, and I left the pub. As soon as I left the pub, a bomb blew up the pub. That's how close it was. I got in. I said maybe we never know when the Germans will send some bomb over at any time. But luckily, where I was not an interesting area for the Germans to bomb us. But they did bomb us for one of the V2 rockets came over and got shot down over the pub that I had the date, and I just took it as a lucky thing that I left it, and I went away for a while. They didn't know. They heard V2 rocket come, and I ran in some, I think, under some dead trees or something like that, and the pub was, I had no more pub to go to. That was a very close case, very close shave. That I got out okay.
What else did you do on those brief hours when they let you?
Wrote letters home. Nothing much, because we moved so fast, so many times, that we didn't have many hours to spend to do anything really. Which we were always on the move, constantly on the move. We went from one town to another town to another town. So I was I didn't have much to do except write the few letters home. That's all I really did. And there was no few easy hours because we were always on the alert. But thank God my outfit, the type of outfit I was in, we were well protected by our own planes, and we were protected also by infantry. The ones that protect the infantry. What do you call them? They destroy as many of the German infantry as possible where they could. As we were going across Europe, we were in zones where we could have been destroyed, but luckily we weren't for some reason. Maybe they liked us, the Germans. The few that they didn't like. What can I tell you? When you go into a war, it's all part of it. It's all luck. You could be in a spot and get killed within minutes, or you could be in a spot and never even hear a bomb go off sometimes. So it's luck in a war. And luckily, with the part of the war that I was in, the Germans were already starting to weaken, so they couldn't do too much to do it for us. So whatever they did, we managed to hold our own, because we were in spots that the Germans didn't bother with very much. They didn't know who we were or what we were. All they did was bomb wherever they could, and that's why I said, I guess it's a big part of it is having a lucky time of it. That's it. And coming home was the same thing from Europe. North Atlantic, heavy rains and heavy storms, and another 11 days to get to Boston. But we didn't mind it at that time.
Your biggest enemy was the weather.
The weather was our only enemy. Throwing up was my only enemy. You know, when we got to hit France with the troop ship, it was when we hit France, we climbed down the rope ladder that you see in movies. We climbed down the rope ladders into a troop. What do you call those troop ships? Where they empty out the troop ships into when the troops were let down and had to go onto the beaches at the time.
Are they called ducks?
Huh?
Duck ships? I thought they were called ducks.
I don't know. I forgot. I've forgotten I knew all the names at one time. What you call what? But you generally understand what it was. From the troop ship into these little boats. What do you call them? They go into when the troops pile up to go get landed, and it folds out the end. What do you call them? Oh, you weren't in the army, so you didn't.
A I'm sure
No.
the name. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They land up on the front.
That's right. And that's what we hit Europe that way. But of course, the beaches were clear, but we thought, although we were there 4 weeks after D-Day, see, our planes were there for D-Day for support. But after D-Day, we were in such trouble getting through. I remember the name of the town of Bayeux, B-A-Y-E-U-X. We hit, that was a town right near the beach, and we couldn't go very far because the Germans were right near us. The British apparently couldn't do very much help as far as where we were. We were at Utah Beach, I think. I barely remember, and so we were stuck by the beaches for a couple of weeks because we couldn't advance anymore. If we tried to, we'd be broken up, killed. So although it was 4 weeks after D-Day, we were still near the beach. Couldn't get far at all. We were held up there, and we're not infantry either. So that's for that part.
You said that there was very little entertainment. Do you know if there was any USO shows?
Any what?
USO shows?
Oh yeah, Bob Hope gave us one. I got pictures of it. Yeah.
How was that?
That was good. Francis Langford was there, Jerry Colonna, the other names I don't remember. That was the one and only USO show.
And where were you when you got to see that?
We were already in Germany. The only reason I know is a couple of pictures that I did take, I wrote them there that it was Germany at the time. And what bothered me was what Bob Hope did. The show was for two outfits, for our outfit and another one at a field near us, a few miles from us. So the driver of his Jeep, which had him, this should maybe be in the paper, went to our area instead of the other area, and he gets out and he says, "What are we doing here? We're in a different place." And he started to curse the driver out for being stupid and called him everything in the world. And that lost my love for Bob Hope for a long time. When I heard him do that, I was right near him, so I overheard him insult the driver. So the other outfit came to us, and we had the show. It was a good show. Well, anything would have been a good show, I guess. Yeah, the USO did a good job. I would say. Don't forget they had to be in a safe zone, safe area to perform, and they had to keep away from the bad part of the war, and they did, I guess. And that we had that one show. That was the whole show for the year and a half in Europe. That's about how long I stayed there.
Do you recall any humorous or unusual events? Anything humorous or...
Humorous?
Yes.
I can't think of anything humorous. Maybe some little things happened, but I won't remember them. Because humor was close to zero, and not too many things. Because wherever you were in a bad area, so nothing was really humorous that I could. Maybe a joke happened with one of the GIs or something like that, but not to my knowledge.
What did you think of your fellow officers?
My commanding officer of my squadron was, I think, the greatest guy ever, for various reasons. Like I started to tell you at the beginning, he must have trained those pilots for these missions like you should know from it. But he lived through a whole war, and I heard that when they took him out of the outfit, he went into another outfit, and he was in the Korean War too for a short while, till they gave that up. That's how far he went. He became a brigadier general when he went to another outfit. But he was great. We had only one officer that none of us liked. One, and we were going over the boat. We wanted to throw him overboard, but nobody had the guts to do it. No, it was right. He was such a bastard that he was just a lousy officer. He was in charge of I don't know what it was. In charge of nothing important, I guess. Personnel, I think, maybe. But he was a terrible officer, and that's it. The only thing bad happening to me is while I was in basic training, they say don't ever volunteer for anything in the Army, or you'll be stuck. So we asked for a volunteer for the work in the kitchen. And I raised my hand. They said, "Sam, you're crazy, raising your hand." I said, "What am I going to do otherwise? Sit around and do nothing?" This was in Miami Beach, and so I went. It was night. It was at night. The training. We had to clean up the officers' meal, the last meal for the day. And the whole evening was for ourselves. So boy, did we have a ball. We ate the officers' meats. They had good, delicious meats. And we had made ourselves some steaks, made ourselves some other goodies, and fell asleep on the floor. And that's it. We woke up the next morning. It came to us. We had our day off for the job that we did. But the worst thing that happened to me that scared me was I had I don't remember where it was. One of the towns that we were in. We were in a town, and we stayed for the night. And in the middle of the night, I had a gun at my head. Somebody put a gun at my head. It was an MP. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, I missed the last bus going into camp, and I'm waiting to get the next one that comes here. He says, "Okay." He says, "Don't forget to get out of here." But when the gun goes to your head, you kind of sweat a little bit. But the sweating, he wanted to think he would have shot me. So that was the only real scare I ever had during the war. The real scare. Not good facing a gun to your head. But that happened to my father. There was a thief that broke into his apartment. Although this had nothing to do with this. Broke into his apartment and tried to rob him. My father didn't realize it. He came up and he saw the door was partially open. So he opened the door, and this burglar put a gun to his head and threatened to kill him if he tried to start anything. So my father was almost close to death. He would have died on the spot. And but he came out of it anyway. And he had a coin from 1833, an American silver dollar. He had it since he got it when he came off the boat when he came to this country, and he took it from him, and that was his big loss. That little American silver dollar. He never forgot it. Never forgot the rest of his life. That was off. I was off when we were on.
All right. So we talked about your officers. What about your fellow soldiers? How did you feel about them?
The we were pretty good buddies. I had some very close ones that I liked very much. But you had no time to buddy up with anybody too much. Because, like I said, we were gone from place to place so frequently that we could really. I would say generally they were pretty good. A nice bunch of men. So they go up wide peek in, like something like a big thing is going on.
Well, it is. It is a big thing. Did you keep a journal or diary when you were in the service?
Not really. I had things that I wrote down in a little pad. Mainly I kept a pad for my planes that I had to replace and so forth. So I kept a pad the date that they were shot down and so forth. And I kept it. It's one of the things that disappeared from me. So nothing to do but to talk about it. But I didn't keep an actual diary. Like today was a good sunny day, and a couple of bombs came over, but we got away with that. So I didn't keep anything. That I could remember, I didn't keep anything.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
Well, service, we were in northern Germany on the North Shore, and I could tell you one thing, if you're on the North Shore in Bremerhaven, Germany, never go swimming, even in July, because the weather is so cold on the North Shore, the North Sea, that the water is ice cold. You could go in there for minutes and come out with blue lips. It was very. Anyway, we were there for a while, forming our outfit, and then we went down to southern Germany to finish our. The war was over at that time, and we finished when the war was over. That's when we went to northern Germany and to southern Germany, and then home. We went down to. We went down to southern Germany. That's where we formed. We changed some men of the outfit. They went into other outfits, and we all got home together. Went home together, pretty much. So that's it. I was close to a few guys that when we got home, I tried to get in touch with them, but I couldn't get in touch with them. I told you, but they were good. They were nice guys, but things that you got to forget. You not no sense to remember, bother you, and that's it. All I could say is don't go to a war. It's not so nice. Even the type of an outfit I was in was rough. It was rough.
What was your feeling in leaving? Were you relieved or?
What was what?
When you were leaving the service, how did you feel?
It was the funniest feeling in the world, because when you were in Europe and every building that you went by was just destroyed. Every building you went by, there was no towns or anything that you saw complete buildings. And when I got off that boat in Boston and I looked in the streets, it was the funniest feeling. You seeing buildings up, standing up. It can't be imagined. after a year or so of going through destruction, complete destruction all the time. In fact, there was one place in the town of St. Lo, in fact, the town itself, it was so destroyed, there wasn't a building, not only not a building standing, I don't think there was a wall standing in that town. It was so destroyed. So it's just a funny feeling that going from war into a peaceful country and seeing homes that are in good shape.
What did you do in the days and weeks after you got home?
Look for a job, and I got my old job back, but I didn't like it because I had a job in the Navy Yard in Bayonne, New Jersey, and I held a pretty good job. And while I was gone, they're filming there yet, or whatever.
I was just checking.
So when I was I came back, the what do you call it, the head person of that department, he had to rehire me back. That was the law. So in the meantime, he said, well, your job I gave to my nephew. So that job was gone. So I just left the job place altogether. Because to get to your job, I used to get up. It used to take me 2.5, 3 hours to get from the Bronx, where I lived, to the job in Bayonne, New Jersey. So I didn't miss much. But I never had trouble getting jobs. Always any job I quit for whatever the reason. I enjoyed every job. I was in the fashion business and the apparel industry, and every job I had was always went up higher and higher in the job, and I always made a good living. There was nothing in the job that I couldn't do. I was in the apparel industry for about over 60 years. So in 60 years, I think I learned a lot. And if I didn't, I'm an idiot.
Did you ever go back to school on the GI Bill?
Yeah, I went to what do you call it, the Cooper Union for a couple of years. And it's one of the oldest of schools ever anywhere. But I took a couple of subjects. I enjoyed artwork a lot over the years, and I took a couple courses in industrial art, and I stayed for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I went as a non-matriculation student. So, and that's it. That was the only other time I went back to school. After that, I'd rather work than go to school.
You said that you had some friends that you made in the service. Were you able to maintain any of those friendships?
No, the one very close one to me that came from Texas, Houston, and we had one of our annual get-togethers. So I said, well, I'm going to see him in Houston. We had a get-together in Houston, and they said he was in the hospital with cancer. So I said, well, I got to get there. And just the day before, they told me, don't go, Sam. He died. And it was such a heartbreaking, that was the most heartbreaking thing that ever happened. And we were so close. We were close like brothers. And this happened, it happened. And that was the thing, that was the worst thing that happened to me at the time. That one of your best friends' buddies died just a day or two before you went into the hospital. And That's all.
What was his name?
His name was Hyman. Oh God Almighty, this is unbelievable. I've forgotten so many things, and I've forgotten them only recently, within the last few years. When you hit 88, you forget a lot of things that you don't want to forget, but you do. I forgot his second name. Something. I may have a piece of paper somewhere with it. I don't know.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
Oh yes, I joined the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I joined the Jewish War Veterans. That's 2. That's it, just about those 2.
And do you attend any reunions or events that they hold?
No, I never did. I was not active in any of them. Not at all.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or the military?
Not really. Except that war isn't that good. And that's why I may sound a little leftist, but all the wars that we go into to save a country don't belong to us, and we've lost thousands and thousands of men because of it. I said, well, let's mind our own business. If you want to go help out a country, military-wise, with equipment, with things, do it. If you want to help a country, but don't just go into a country with our men. As I said, it may sound a little leftist, but I'm 100% against something that we don't mind our own business. That's it.
How did your service and experiences affect your life?
Not at all that I could feel. I felt nothing was affected as far as that's concerned. I got married, I had raised a family, great family. I wish my family and all my friends, how great my family is, my son and daughter. And they are 2 of the best kids. Of course, the best kids. My son is going to be 60, and my daughter is 54, 55. That's the kids that they are now. But everybody, I'll tell you sure how good children they were. When they were born, you put them to bed, and usually they get up 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, diapers wet, this, that. Them 2 slept through the night from the day they were born at home. We never had to get up at night to change them or anything. Well, I and my wife did all that job. And, but they were, people talking about, we'd go into a restaurant when they were a little bigger. And they were 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. We'd sit down at the table and to eat. And people would look to see the children sit there and eat like a normal, like a human being. And as they walked out, a few of them used to tap me on the shoulder, "Mister, you got 2 of the greatest children there." I said, "You don't have to tell me, I know they are." That has nothing to do with the war.
Is there anything that we haven't covered in this interview that you would like to add?
I don't know. I really don't know. I can't think of anything outside of what I've told you. The only way I could answer something is you got to ask a question. Then I have an answer for it. But anything, any general subject matter, I don't remember anything.
Well, that said, I would like to thank you for your service and also for your time today.
So, quite all right. Now, do you want to go up to my apartment?